MultiVersus is now well into its open beta, and things are going pretty dang good for the game. It's only the 2-time record holder for the most played fighting game of all time on PC, and reviews are all very positive. That's kinda neat considering that the game is only in its beta. One of the biggest things people have noticed that MultiVersus is lacking, however, are villains in the roster. There is not a single villain in the entire roster for MultiVersus. Not one. Even Harley Quinn has firmly been an anti-hero or just straight up a hero for the last 10 years. She's now more likely to team up with Batman than go against Batman, so not even she counts as the roster's villain. Well, I do have some good news for you guys, and it involves when we'll start getting our beloved evil characters. One of the grayed out modes said to be coming soon is Guild Mode. Guild Mode will allow players to group up with a large number of other players, like with other games, and one of its biggest features will be guild bosses. Now this is going to be slightly speculative because we are going off of data mined information, but all of the data mined info was right about other features like Gleamium being the premium currency, founders packs, and all the shit coming out with Rick. Also, while we're taking this break, go ahead and subscribe. I'm pretty dang good at using this information to accurately predict what will happen. I even called the release date for the game, reveal date for Rick, Morty, and LeBron, and my open beta roster prediction was only one character off. You'd really be missing out if you don't subscribe. Alright, so back on track, guild bosses seem to be a feature as far as the files are concerned. I know guilds will be coming at a later date, but when they come, I think we'll get our first villain into the game. I could see guilds going one of two ways. They either launch with a guild boss, or they launch and then they add a guild boss a couple of weeks later. Either way, the first guild boss is going to be our first villain in the roster, and it's going to be none other than the Joker. The Joker, out of every villain in the files, has the most going for him. There are more lines mentioning him than any other non-already revealed and playable character in the game. He also just makes sense as the premier guild boss, as he's only the biggest villain Warner Brothers has access to, and honestly maybe the biggest villain of all time. When a character genuinely has a claim to be more important and iconic than Darth Vader and Thanos, that villain is a pretty big deal. So the Joker is almost definitely our first guild boss, but who comes next? Well, if we're going off of the files, I think we have 5 possible options here. Black Adam, Poison Ivy, the Wicked Witch of the West, and Beetlejuice are all mentioned in the files, and they can all be considered villains. I kind of want to rule out Black Adam though, because he's more of an anti-hero than villain, and that's what The Rock has been pushing really hard for his movie. Poison Ivy will never be a good guy as long as pollution exists and humans are as bad to nature as we currently are, and that is not going to change anytime soon. She's also a great addition to the roster since her duo with Harley Quinn is so important for representation and inclusion, and they also have a show together now. The Wicked Witch is probably the character I would expect after the Joker. I mean, even Tony has asked people on Twitter how they think she would play. Beetlejuice doesn't have a lot going for him other than a couple of lines referencing him, but I still think he's a solid pick. Now you may be wondering where the 5th character is, since I've only mentioned 4. Well, I actually think Godzilla would be an incredible choice for a guild boss. Colossal characters can already feel like boss fights to go against. I mean, the Iron Giant definitely feels like one. And Godzilla is a villain almost as much as they are a hero. As a matter of fact, they're a villain in their most iconic movies. In Godzilla's debut, they were a villain and it was the humans versus Godzilla. In Shin Godzilla, it was once again the humans versus Godzilla. Sure, now we have Godzilla pulling up to defend the Earth against other monsters, but this character's debut was as the antagonist. Wouldn't it be kind of fitting for them to debut as an antagonist in MultiVersus as well? I don't know how often they'll add these guild bosses, but I think it'd be sick to see Godzilla as one eventually. If I had to guess which characters will be guild bosses first, I think I'll go with the Joker, the Wicked Witch, and finally Godzilla, with Poison Ivy sprinkled somewhere in there. Which villains do you guys want to see as bosses? Personally, I would love if Sub-Zero was Bihan instead of Kuai Liang. Kuai Liang could be a skin, and then we'd get the evil Sub-Zero as a guild boss. Shao Kahn is another character I would love to see as a boss, but I'd also be hyped for Sauron, the Ice King, or Voldemort. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I'll smell you guys later.